Okay, so today I want to put the Gemara on because I think the shot will be more helpful than the Gemara, but we'll try. So today's the daf is all about paraduma. Really, like shaykhs to what we've been learning. I always say what I heard from my Rebbe Mendel Kaplan Zechron Levracha, that on those Gemaras on those Masechtas that there's no Gemaras like Kodshim and Taras. So the Gemara looks for opportunity to be able to elaborate on it. And even though it's not the subject, once there's a little Pesach to get in, the Gemara takes the opportunity. So this is, I think, one of them where paraduma is Masechta para, but we don't have any Gemara on it. So here the Gemara does talk about the halachas of paraduma. So the Gemara starts on Mem Beis Amud Beis, and it's about Amar Ula, 3, 6, 9, 12, 15, about 18 lines from the bottom. The last one on the line is Ula, Amar Ula. So we're studying Parshas Chukas, which is coming up. We're doing this week Parshas Balos, Shlach Torah Chukas. In about a month, we'll be up to Parshas Chukas, and everyone can come back to Yuma Dafim Gimel for elaboration on the beginning of Parshas Chukas, which is Paraduma. So the Gemara starts. Amar Ula, Kol Parsha Kula Mashma Motzi Miyad Mashma Mashma Mamela. When you go through the Parsha of Parshas Chukas, which is on the screen, that's what I put on the screen over here. So you read the pasuk, and you, how do they say? It stays the same, status quo, until further notice. That when the pasuk says something, so you keep the same until the pasuk changes it. And that's what the Gemara says, mashma, one of two ways. It either could be mashma, mosim yad mashma. Mosim yad mashma means that it's coming to change what's been until now. And otherwise, it's mashma mamela. Otherwise, it continues what has been talking about until now, which sounds like it's simple, that Parsha says that it's mashma mamela, that if it says something in the pasuk before, it continues talking about the same thing. We're talking about who's doing it, the Kohen or the Kohen Gadol or the Hedi or the Zar. So whatever said the pasuk before, you continue mashma mamela, unless it's mosim yad mashma, unless it came to extract, to change from what has been mashma until now. So that's how you read the Parsha. The whole Parsha is either mashma one way or mashma the other way. Either it's mashma, I would put in quotations, mosim yad mashma. Mosim yad mashma means that it's coming to change from what has been mashma until now. That's one way that it's mashma. And the other way is memela. The other word would be in quotations memela. It could be mashma either mosim yad mashma, or it could be mashma memela. Memela would mean that it continues the same way that it's been until now. And now he starts the parsha. So if anybody has a chumash, whoever doesn't have a screen, at least have a chumash, because or else it's hard to follow. Parshas Bamidbar, Besefer Bamidbar. Okay. Yeah, everybody has whatever they need. Okay.
Packer, what's your spot there? There is some bird dropping.
Parshas Chukas. That's in Bamidbar Perek Yutes. Perek 19. So the parsha starts by Hashem Moshe v'Aaron. Hashem told Moshe and Aaron, "Those chukas haTorah shall Hashem lemor." This is the laws of the Torah that Hashem commanded. Dabrel b'nei Yisrael v'yikoi lecha parah dumat mimah Hashem ba'mum Hashem lo aleha ol. Tell b'nei Yisrael to take for you a completely red cow. That's the halacha of the paraduma. Fine. Pasuk 3. Unusatem osah leLazar Kohen. V'otzi osah michos lamachaneh. Give it to Elazar Kohen. Elazar was not the Kohen Gadol at the time. You look at the first pasuk, it says, Aaron was still living. Aaron was the Kohen Gadol. Elazar was not. Elazar is called the Sagan. He was called like the assistant Kohen. And very interesting that the pasuk says to give it to Elazar. Elazar is the one who officiated by the first paraduma, not the Kohen Gadol, not a Kohen Hediot, Dafka Sagan. So that's the first thing that it says. Give it to Elazar Kohen. He should take it out. He should take it out from the Machna, like we say. Over there in the Midbar, they didn't go to Har HaZeisen, they were in the Midbar. But you have to go out of the Machna. Eventually, when they came to Yerushalayim, so then the Paraduma was done out of the Machna, it was done on the east side, so it was done on Har HaZeisen. So the Gemara, now we see the Gemara inside about that. The Gemara is going to throw out a lot of drushes besides what we said that it continues status quo until further notice. It's also going to tell us a lot of drushes on the way also. So the Gemara starts. It says, give the Paraduma to Elazar, he's the one who takes it out. Osa le'elazar, below ledoros le'elazar. Since it says votzi osa, that word votzi osa, osa, you should take it out. Why does it have to say it? So that word it is coming to say something dafka unique about it. It was the first generation, and the first generation was unique that Elazar was the one who was officiating, and he was the sgan. But in future generations, there's no such halacha anymore. It's not going to be anymore the Sgan. Now, what is going to be in future generations? In subsequent generations, it's not going to be the assistant Kohen Gadol who's doing it. So who is doing it? So two extremes. Ikadami l'daros Kohen Gadol, Ikadami l'daros Kohen Hedyot. Some hold that from now on, that's the Kohen Gadol. And some say no, from now on, any Kohen can do it. If you say that future generations is a Kohen Hedyot, it makes sense because it doesn't say you need this gun. It doesn't say a Kohen Gadol, so any Kohen is good. But if you say the Kohen Gadol, where does it come from? Like Mechatesi, where does he get a source to say you have to have the Kohen Gadol for all generations? The first word has Chukas Torah in the beginning of the parsha, and also by Yom Kippur it says Chukas Olam L'Daros Echem Gzer Shava, just like Yom Kippur is a Kohen Gadol, also Paradumini is a Kohen Gadol. That's the first Gemara, finished, easy Gemara. So in the first generation, the Sgan, Allah, the assistant Kohen Gadol was the one who officiated by the Paraduma, and that was a Gzer Sukkos of after that generation. In future generations, it's not so. What is it? Machlokas. Some say Kohen Gadol, some say Kohen Hedyot. I just like to throw out the question, what does everybody think before you learn this? For Paraduma has to have a Kohen Gadol? What is everybody's impression? Do you need the Kohen Gadol for the Paraduma? Anybody have an impression?
Yeah.
So here comes on Machlokas. And some
Why
say
would
yes.
you think yes? Because there's only
I think
mention
no,
of Elazar
yeah.
who was the Sgan, and
That was the first.
why would you think it's got to be higher than
So that's what they want to do. The Gemara said because Gzer Shava Chukas Olam Chukah Yom Kippurim. So it's Machlokas. If you need a Kohen Gadol for a Paraduma, some say yes, some say not. We pass not. We pass you don't need a Kohen Gadol for a Paraduma. Yes, Levi Yaakov.
No, I was just going to say I didn't think it had to be a Kohen Gadol.
Okay. And just to point out, was Ezra a Kohen Gadol? Ezra
was a Kohen Gadol.
How do you know?
I've heard it.
Yeah,
I've
but
heard it many times.
there's no source. The only reason people think so is because it talks about if you did a Paraduma. But we pass you don't need a Kohen Gadol. So there's no source that Ezra was a Kohen Gadol. Like in fact, the Smash he was not. His nephew, Yeshua ben Yotzadok, was the So it's Pashas that Ezra was not a Kohen Gadol. The sources who say that he was based on this Gemara. If you hold you need a Kohen Gadol, we only don't need a Kohen Gadol, so there's no source that he should have been a Kohen Gadol. Okay, so we did just Pasuk Gimel. If you have a screen, that's what I wrote over there about Tzio Sa. So the screen says V'lo l'daros l'Elazar Kohen. That the first generation you have to have a Elazar, but the future generation is not. What do you need? So that's a machlokas. Either Kohen Gadol or Kohen Hedyot. We pass in the Kohen Hedyot. The pasuk continues. V'otzio Sa. Sorry, I made a mistake. I didn't on the screen. I should have made probably the first two Satem or so. I didn't highlight the right one over there. I should have highlighted more. Okay, there it is. That the first two Satem or so, that was the Lola Kohen, and now Votzio Sa is going to be a second drasha. So again, Pasuk Gimel, the first drasha about Lola Doros is on the first dosa. Give it to Elazar, but other generations it's not Elazar. Now the Pasuk continues Votzio Sa. Okay, I'm sorry about that on the screen.
It can't be it shouldn't be a Sgan Kohen. There can be other Kohen.
Yes, either has to be more or even less. It could be the Sgan, but if you have to be less, but you don't need the
Rabbi,
yes, please.
there's a very simple Rashi here that's Kedai to see. It's in the second of the middle wide lines at the bottom. He says, the Kevan Delo Kavala Kra Behedja, Skano Kohen Gadol, called Kohanim Kasherim Ba.
Yeah, I said that. I meant to have said that according to Mandam, it says not, is because if it doesn't say so, then you don't need it. The Mandam says because of Gzer Shava to Yom Kippur, you do need a Kohen Gadol. Those are the two studs, and we pass that any Kohen is good. The pasuk continues, V'otzi Osa, Shelo Yotzi Acheres Imo. This pasuk, we're still in pasuk Gimel, it says take it out. Take it, the Paraduma, take it out of the Machna. So why does it have to say it? So that's the extra word. Of course, all these are nuances that on the Pshat level, everything's fine, but on the Drash level, it demands more. So take it out. So the Chiddush is Shelo Yotzi Acheres Imo. Don't take out anything else with it. Only it by itself. Take it out. Get it out. You don't have to miss it. If the cow didn't want. Yes, please.
Yeah, this is a quick question about Elazar. When Aaron died, it's the motion dress Elazar is begodim. Does that mean he became Kohen Gadol?
Yes. But at this point, Aaron was still alive.
Oh, yeah. But at this point, okay. But he did become Kohen Gadol. Yeah.
Eventually, he became the Kohen Gadol. That's true.
Yeah. Okay. I thought you said he didn't.
Okay. No, I was talking about Ezra. That we spoke about Ezra. If Ezra was a Kohen Gadol, that was what I meant to. If maybe I wasn't clear. Okay. The Gemara continues. When you take out the Paraduma, two to the Taharas Esim, out of the Machna, so don't take out another one with it. Kidatnan. We go to Mishnah and Paraduma. Let's say if the Paraduma didn't want to go out, didn't budge. So sometimes take another animal again. So then it goes along. But Amotzian Imashchora, Shaloyomu Shchora Shachtu, Amotzian Aduma, Shaloyomu Shtam. You can't take a cow together with it. No difference if it's a Parima or it's black or white, doesn't make a difference. Means if it's a kosher Paraduma or not. You can't take out a black. A black is another way of saying not red. So you can't take out any cow because people will think the whole entourage is going out with a black cow. They're going to shech the black cow. They're going to think that you don't have to have a red cow. So dafka red cow. But don't take out another red. Don't take out two red cows. You happen to have two red cows. Don't take out two either because people are going to think that you didn't go out together with you and they think that they did too. You're not allowed to do two either.
Oh, it's
That's
not another one.
only one, only by itself. You can't take two together. And that the Gemara says coming up on the next page is going to say that you're not allowed to do two paradumas at the same time. If you want to do another one, do it tomorrow. Don't do it together. So if you're going to take it out, people are going to think maybe you did it also. They didn't go out together with you, Taras Esim. So they'll think that you did two at the time. You're not allowed to.
Is that the end of the brisa?
No, it still continues. Rabbi Omer, Loman Hashem Uzeh. Rabbi says that's not the reason. I agree to the din, but not the same reason. Ela Mishum Shenema Osa. Because of this pasuk, Tanakama seems to say a reason because Achshash Gzer Drabanan that people might think. But he says, Rabbi says no, it's because it says Osa. Take it out. It's a pasuk, not because of right. And that's the end of the brisa. By the word levada, that's the end of the brisa. Tanakama says because of a reason, people might think that you shechted a black one or two red ones, and Rabbi says no because it says Osa. The Gemara Tanakama Haksiv Osa. Why does Tanakama not agree? Doesn't he agree that the pasuk says Osa? Good Russia, only it by itself. The Gemara answers, "Man Tanakama Rab Shimoni the Darsh Time Mikra." You're right. Tanakama also agrees. Everybody agrees that the pasuk says so. Osa, take it and don't take anything else together with it. But the Tanakama is saying, "I'll tell you the reason." And Rabbi Shimon holds Dashina time of the Quran that you're allowed to dash in the reason of the pasuk and make an application. You're allowed to make ramifications of that. If you know the reason, you're also allowed to say that sometimes it doesn't apply. So according to Rabbi, he says pasuk says don't take anything else. No reasons. Just don't take anything else. Period. Blanket statement. But Rabbi Shimon says that the reason we could understand, and then we could also make applications. My benai, what's going to be an akamid according to Rabbi Shimon, who says the reason why the Torah says, it's not Rabbanan. The Tanakama says that you're not allowed to take it with the Raisa. But why? Because the Torah doesn't want people to think that maybe you shechted a black one, maybe you shechted two red ones. But what's the difference if that's the reason or not? Ikabanayu, the apik, hamor, bada. Could you take out a donkey? A different animal, not a cow altogether. If it's because people will think that you shechted a black one, everyone knows that the donkey is not good for a paraduma or a horse, whatever. Only a cow. So according to Rabbi Yossi, according to Tanakam, Shimon, the only thing you're not allowed to take out is something which might be confused, like a black cow, a red cow. But if you take out an animal which is b'chlal no shaykhis, so then you'd be allowed to. According to Rabbi, the Torah says if without any reason, it says take it out by itself. You're not allowed to take even a donkey. Okay, so we got through pasuk 3. No, we still didn't finish. The pasuk ends off v'shachat osa lefanov. So this pasuk we had yesterday already, and if you read the simple pasuk, it would sound like he should shecht it before him. So who's he and who's him? We would think that the Kohen God, Elazar, the officiating Kohen Elazar, and we know already for generations it's going to be either a Kohen Hedjed, Kohen God, but let's call him Elazar. Elazar is the officiating Kohen. So it says he should shecht it before him. So we would think that anybody could shecht before him. Him is Elazar. He has to be washing it, and that's how we had the simple pshat. What we saw yesterday, it's not simple. That's how Shmuel learns. But Rav said no, that he has to shecht in front of himself. It means he should be focused on it, but he has to be the shochet also. And here the Gemara brings back this machlokis. Not yet, I'm sorry. I'm jumping a little bit. Again, the word v'shachat osa, this is where it says that only allowed to shecht one at a time. You can't shecht two paradumas. Even if you have two, I'm sorry that I jumped with lefanov, but v'shachat osa, this everybody agrees that only allowed to shecht one, you can't shecht two paradumas together. And that's why Rabbi Shimon said that the pasuk before, v'otzi osa, meant to say, don't take out even two because you might think that you shechted two. But everyone agrees to this pasuk that it says you only allowed to shecht one at a time, and if you have two, you're not allowed to do both of them at a time. First do one, then take out the second one. Lefanav, now goes the word lefanav on the same pasuk for shachat osa lefanav. The Rav shelo yasiach daita mimena. The Shmuel shehezar shochet v'alazar roa. This is what we had yesterday. This is what I meant to say. That according to Shmuel, let's say he's the pashup shot that says he should shecht it before him means that he is somebody else. So the Kohen Elazar is the one who's washing it, but somebody else is the one who's shechting it. And you don't need a Kohen. You don't need a Elazar to do it. Even a Zar is allowed to do it. But Rav learns that Elazar is the one who's doing it. He should shecht it before himself. But this means that he should pay attention to what he's doing. He shouldn't be distracted. He should be concentrating on what he's doing. and that was the drasha of Lefanav. If that's good so far, we got through Pasuk Gimel. Just to pass over again, when the Satan was Kohen, that after that generation is a Lazar, future generations is not a Lazar. What is it? Either Kohen Gadol or Kohen Hedyot. Machlokes. If asking the Kohen Hedyot, so take only it. Don't take out another one to get something else together with it. According to Rebbe, it's a blanket statement. Nothing. Don't take out anything, even a donkey. According to Rabbi Shimon, the pasuk means because you might think that you're gonna shech the black one or the red one that you took out also. So therefore, only take out. But a donkey, you'll be allowed to take out.
It's not going to shift the black one to make it part of the Duma. It's got to be a Duma.
Yes, you know that, and I know that. But the person who's going to see them will take out a black cow. They might think that they shechted a black cow.
I mean, this is as stupid as it gets. You got to be doing it like prior Duma. Everybody knows that.
When did they do it last? They did it 200 years earlier.
Yeah, but it's a big tekes. It's once.
It's a big tekes. Yeah, they're watching the big tekes, and they see a black cow going out. So they're going to say, I saw my own eyes that they're going out with a black cow.
That's a different reason. That's because it changes the mahut of the.
No, we're talking about it. They're going out with the paraduma, and they're taking out a black cow.
Mixed up. They just
the people are going to think, I saw a black cow. I saw the black cow with my own two eyes. I'm not colorblind.
Well, maybe you red and a black.
They saw a red, or maybe do both, whatever. But they see the black one, the white one. They see, I saw the cow myself, my own eyes. So he's going to tell his kids, you're allowed to do a paraduma. You're allowed to do a black cow also. That's what it says. Don't make this mistake.
You have to worry about people like that, I guess.
Okay. And then Fishachato also means that you're only allowed to shecht one. You can't shecht two. Even two red cows, you're not allowed to shecht two of them together. And the Fanav, that was a machlokes. That according to Rav, it means that the Kohen, Elazar, is still the one who's doing it. Elazar in the first generation and subsequent generations, whatever we said, Kohen Gadol, Kohen Hedyot. And Shmuel says no, V'shachato Sol Fanav means he shechs before him. That means that it's a zar. Even a non-Kohen is allowed to shech or paraduma, which was yesterday's machlokes. The Gemara continues on Mem Gimel on the fourth line. The pasuk continues and says that the Kohen, after it's shechted, is supposed to take from the blood and to sprinkle it towards the Ohel Moed. So La Shmuel, La Dura La Lozar, the Rav, Evimir Tachamir, Evimir Tachamir, Talo Rabbos, Tafilu Kohen Hedyot. Now we're going into the cloud that the Gemara told us in the beginning that you keep status quo until further notice. So is there further notice over here? According to Shmuel, Pasuk Gimel just finished off talking about an Azar. It said that a non-Kohen shechs the paraduma. Now, if it says a Lazar Kohen, why does it say? Because it had to change. Because till now we were talking about a non-Kohen, and the pasuk wanted to tell you here you need a Kohen. That's very nice that it says Lazar Kohen. So the Lazar steps up again, and he's the one who's going to be sprinkling the blood towards the Beis Hamikdash. And that's what it says on the chart. That according to Shmuel, Lazar is the one who's doing it. But Rav is stuck. Rav over here, according to Rav, the pasuk before is also talking about a Lazar Kohen. Who shechted it? According, it says, give it to Elazar, he should take it out, he should shecht it, and now it says he should sprinkle. So why does it have to say again Elazar Kohen? According to Rav is bothered that in Pasuk 4 it says Elazar Kohen. It's not necessary because we're talking about Elazar Kohen. According to Shmuel, we're talking about Azar, so you have to change it. But according to Rav, we've been talking about Elazar Kohen. So why does the Pasuk say again Elazar Kohen? So he says a huge chiddush. There's a concept called miyut achamiyut, that if the Pasuk says 2 times in a row a negative, it's like saying a double negative kind of thing. If it says 2 times a negative, it really means a positive. So as strange as it is, it says since the pasuk says Elazar Kohen, and we're talking about Elazar Kohen, so it means you don't need Elazar Kohen. So it's almost the opposite. So even though the pasuk says Elazar Kohen is the one who sprinkles the blood, you don't need Elazar. Any Kohen is good. That's what it says on the chart over here on the screen. That according to Rav, it's the Kohen Hedyot. According to Shmuel, Elazar. So so in pasuk 3 we had a machlokes who's the shochet, and in pasuk 4 we have machlokes, which is a result of that machlokes. That according to Rav, any Kohen Hedyot is good, and even in the first generation, means the future generations, maybe always the Kohen Hedyot could be the officiating Kohen, but you don't need the officiating Kohen. Any Kohen is good. According to Shmuel, Dafka, the officiating Kohen is the one who sprinkles the blood.
Is one of the 13 principles of Rabbi Ishmael?
No. The pasuk continues, V'lakach hakohen. Now the pasuk on the chart, if you look at the chart, it brings the pasuk and it says pasuk 8. The Gemara jumps to pasuk 6, but I've just put in pasuk 5 because it does say it over there. And the pasuk says they should burn. That then it has to be burnt. So yesterday the Gemara said leinov means that you should not be Mesiach Das. The Gemara said according to Shmuel, this is the pasuk when you have to have 2 psukim, but who burns it? Who burns the paraduma? Who's the one who burns it? So the Gemara doesn't talk about it, but it's Pashat L'chor that the Gemara is saying Mashma Mamela, whatever we've been talking about until now. Whatever Pasuk 4 is talking about, that's the Pasuk 5 is talking about. And what is Pasuk 4 talking about? But I said Machlokes. In Pasuk 4 we said that according to Rav it's a Kohen Hedyot. So here also Kohen Hedyot will be the one who's going to be burning it. According to Shmuel, it's Elazar. The same way that Pasuk 4, the one who did the Hazar was Elazar, the one who sprinkled the blood, so too he's the one who's going to be burning the paraduma. The Gemara doesn't speak this out, but Lachora, that's what comes out, as the Gemara said, Mashma Mamela, that if the pasuk doesn't say otherwise, you continue status quo. So pasuk 5, I think that's how it comes out in the Gemara. The Gemara continues with pasuk 6. For Lakacha Kohen, it says that the Kohen, here it does say Kohen, the Kohen should take the cedar wood and azov, the grass, and the shnitolas, the scarlet thread, and throw it into the burning fire of the paraduma. So who does that? The Lakacha Kohen. So everybody agrees here that it's a Kohen head here. Here everybody agrees that you don't need the Kohen, you don't need a Lazar, and the Zar is not good. But how does it work? According to Shmuel, it's very good. Shmuel, till now we were talking about Elazar. So the pasuk over here changed to say Kohen. Why did it say Kohen? They did only Dafka Elazar. Before, the pasuk spoke about Elazar Kohen a few times. Pasuk 3, pasuk 4. Now it just says pasuk 6. It says V'lakacha Kohen. So Shmuel says it's telling you
Why
that
is it hey? It's like, it sounds like a hey idea.
in the Pashup Shat, you're right, that it means the Kohen. That's Pashup
Yeah.
Shat. But in the Drash now, it doesn't say Elazar, so it means any Kohen. So according to Shmuel, it came to change that before, in Pasuk 4 or 5, it was talking about Elazar. But in Pasuk 6, it means any Kohen is good. And according to Rav, the Kash is going to be before also was talking about a Kohen head yet. So what changed from Pasuk 5 to Pasuk 6? Why did it have to say a Kohen? We're talking about a Kohen already. So that's what the Gemara addresses now. Shmuel is good that the pasuk before pasuk 5 is talking about Elazar, so the pasuk had to tell you now that any Kohen is good. But LeRav, it's trich. Rav also agrees that it's a Kohen hedyot, but why does the pasuk have to repeat it? We said we're talking about a Kohen hedyot. Sakadai the Chamein Achiv and the Lav Kufa the Paran and the lowly boy Kohen Kamashman. I might think that since throwing in the wood, that's not part of the paraduma. Until now, we're talking about the paraduma itself, shechting it and sprinkling the blood and burning it. But now to throw in the added 3 ingredients of the 8 errors, you might think that you don't need a Kohen. Anybody's allowed to do it. So the pasuk had to say it again. You need Dafka Kohen. But everybody agrees in pasuk 6 that the one who throws the wood into the fire, that the wood, the 8 errors, azov, that any Kohen is good, but you do need a Kohen. Yes, Levi Yaakov?
Excuse me. Lav Gufa de Para means the procedure, or that it's not the para itself. It's just part of. It's like accoutrements to the para. Or what exactly? How do we translate these words?
It isn't the actual para. Lav Gufa de Para. It isn't the actual para. This issue of putting in, throwing in.
Oh, like sprinkling its blood is.
Yeah, sprinkling the blood is, and burning it is. But here that you're throwing something into the fire, that's not. So you might think that you don't need a Kohen. See, Torah stresses that you do need a Kohen. So everybody holds in pasuk 6 that that's a Kohen hedyot. You don't need a Elazar, and Elazar is not good. It's a Kohen hedyot. But Shmuel, the pasuk had to say so. According to Rav, the pasuk had to say so in order to avoid a mistake. Pasuk 7. The pasuk continues. Yes. Pasuk continues. Chibes. The Gadav HaKohen. The pasuk says in pasuk 7 that the Kohen has to wash his clothing, which he became tamei. The Kohen who did this, who burnt it, who threw the wood in, he becomes tamei, like the pasuk says. That the Kohen who did this becomes tamei, and he has to go to the mikvah and he has to wait until the evening.
This is true that they're matameh tahor tahor tameh. Yes, you prove that whole umrah that is.
If you want to bring it from here, you can bring it from here, but don't bring it from the Hiza Tahor. No, don't bring it from that Mazeh man, it becomes tamei. People don't say it on this pasuk; they say it on something else. If you want to know here it says that the person who did it, the person who's the sorry, like it says, the person also the next person, sorry person, the person who burns it, the person who threw the wood in, they become tamei. That it does say.
Okay, so that's where they get it from.
They don't quote it there. They
The ones
quote.
that I know of.
Look at it again.
They smart.
The pasuk says. So the Gemara says, "V'chibes begadav haKohen." Why does it have to say haKohen? We're talking about a Kohen. Pasuk 6 says a Kohen. So why does pasuk? I mean, obviously, who's the one who's becoming tamei? The one who did it. So it's obviously the same Kohen. The one who did it now becomes tamei. He has to go to the mikvah. So why does the pasuk say twice in this pasuk? V'chibes begadav haKohen v'tamei haKohen. What does that say? We know talking about the Kohen. So that's the Gemara's question. And the Gemara says that the word Kohen means he has to be wearing bigdei kuna. That it's not enough that he's a Kohen. He has to be wearing the bigdei kuna. And if not, it's not.
Why add the word this? Just to somehow add the bigdei kuna.
The reason why it says haKohen is to tell you why the extra word Kohen is over here.
Oh,
It's
the
to
word
tell you-
is extra.
The extra word is Kohen. It could have said, "V'chi bes begadov, v'chas b'sarov b'mayim, v'achai yavo l'machaneh, v'tamei adorev." What does it have to say a Kohen 2 times? So the Gemara says, it says Kohen that he has to be wearing his big day. That's called bikihuno. If he doesn't wear his garments, his vestments, he's not a kosher Kohen at the time. And you might have thought that for the paraduma, it's not. You might have think you don't need the big day kuna. So it says you do. What does the Gemara say? V'chi bes begadov v'kohen bikihuno. Bikihuno means he's in his.
Tafkid.
Okay, b'tafkid. He has to be wearing his big day kuna. And why does it say again in the same pasuk for Tomei Kohen? Adorev Kohen b'kihuna the doors, even for future generations also, not only the first time Balazar, but all generations he has to be wearing the big day kuna. And the Gemara says, if we had a B'chokas before, that all generations, who's the one who's doing it? Is it the Kohen Gadol? Is it the Kohen Hedyot?
Skan.
So if you hold, no, the first generation was a Skan, future generation is either a Kohen Hedyot or a Kohen Gadol. So it says, if you hold that it's a Kohen Hedyot, so then it's a nice chiddush that you might have thought you don't need the big day kuna in future generations. If you have to have a Kohen Gadol for future generations, then the Gemara says for sure you have to have the big day kuna. If you need a Kohen Gadol, then surely you need that it should be wearing the big day kuna. That the Gemara holds like a Kal V'chomer. So the Gemara says you're right, it's a Kal V'chomer, but the Torah writes it anyway. Sometimes the Torah writes something which goes without saying. Sometimes the pasuk writes something which could have been figured out by Kal V'chomer. It's not such a kasha. Even it's not another drasha, it's just a Kal V'chomer. You could have known it by yourself. That the Torah doesn't want to write anyway. So maybe it's extra, but it's unnecessary, but the Torah wrote it anyway. So that's in pasuk 7. The reason why it says a Kohen 2 times is to say that you need big day kuna and even for future generations. Pasuk 8, nothing's extra over there. Like whoever burnt it is also tamei. Fine. Then it says Vasaf Ishtahar. Pasuk 9 says Vasaf Ishtahar Esei Fapara. Now it talks about collecting the ashes. After you burnt the paradum, we have ashes. Yesterday we had a little bit about it. We said yesterday that you're allowed to do it at night. The woman is allowed to do it, and you're allowed to do it at night also. The Gemara goes into that now. I'm sorry,
the Torah was part of the last sentence.
Yeah, the Torah, a thing which could have been learned out from Kal V'chomer, the pasuk exerts itself to write it anyway.
Torah v'kasav.
Kra means the pasuk. Torah means that it exerted.
Oh yeah, thank you. Okay.
Now it goes into the pasuk V'asaf Ishtahar, pasuk 9. V'asaf Ishtahar Sefer Parah B'niach. A Torah man should collect the ashes and place it outside the machane in a Torah place, and you save it for whenever you need it to sprinkle on somebody from the water of the paradum, something that you don't have ashes, but you have to collect the ashes. So who is this? Ishtahar. Who do you need to collect the ashes? Ishtahar. So we will say Pashup Shat, a Torah man, very simple. But the Gemara says Ish Lachshir Sazar. That's good, even not a Kohen. Till now we need a Kohen. Here it says even a non-Kohen is kosher to collect the ashes. And Torah, even a woman is good. Even though the Pashup Shat says Ish Tahor, says a Torah man. But we say no, that the word Tohar is coming, it's Pashat, Rashi says that you need Tohar, that goes without saying, but it must be coming to say that even a woman is good. So we visualized yesterday just to get a picture. You could have, even at night after they burnt the paraduma, you could have men and women gathering the ashes as long as they're Tohar, but even women can do it. But the Niach, the Pasuk says, the fact that it says he should place it, that means somebody has das to know what he's doing. And the katan is excluded, so therefore the katan is not allowed to be collecting and placing the ashes. So in that picture we have that it's night, the big projectors, they're collecting the ashes. Who's collecting? Men and women, but not children. All the children are being kept away because they're not allowed to collect the ashes. So we got up till pasuk 9. After that, the pasuk continues about that. I just made it smaller, just mentioning all that. All the psukim 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, all talks about that people that are tamei, they had contact with the dead, so they have to get sprinkled with the paraduma water. And now, pasuk 17 is what we're going to be darshaning. It says, so far he does have the ashes. And it says now, this talks about what's we call kiddush. Kiddush means very different than we call a kiddush. A kiddush here means that you're mekadesh the water with the ashes of the paraduma, the mixing of water, like it says, Ma'im Chayim. You take water, spring water, and you mix it, the ashes together with the water. I think in halacha, even though the pasuk is mashma both places, but you placed the water and you put the ashes on top of the water. I think that's not a Gemara doesn't talk about it. So who's the one that's called kiddush? The mixing of the ashes with the water is called kiddush. That's called kiddush mechatas. So who's the one who's kosher to do that?
Mixing of the ashes.
So who's the one who's kosher to do that? So the pasuk says they should take for the tummy person who's the tummy mace. They should take from the ashes of the paraduma the burnt ashes of the and put water. So who does that? This is called kiddush. Who does that? Now we're going on to a Mishnah, and we're going to continue with the
Is it
drushes.
17?
Pasuk 17, yes. This is a Mishnah in Paraduma that says that everyone is allowed to do this kiddush, except for a cheshot of a katan. So a woman is allowed to do it. A woman is allowed to mix the ashes with the water. She's kosher. I call cherem, except for a katan. A katan is not good. Cheshot goes together. They have no das. Cheshot of a katan is not good. But Rabbi Yehuda machshe b'katan apostle b'isha. Rabbi Yehuda is the opposite. Rabbi Yehuda says that a katan is kosher to do it, and a woman may not.
What's his reason? We don't know.
My time. The one says right away. Apostle b'isha androgynous is androgynous, means it's a suffix if it's a man or woman. So therefore, if a woman is possible, so too is androgynous. So a machlokes over here in pasuk 17. Who's the one who does the kiddush? According to Rabbanan, a woman, yes, katan not. According to Rabbi Yehuda, katan may, and a woman may not. My time with Rabbanan. Where do they get it from? How come they say that a woman is kosher and a katan is not? They say Rabbi Yehuda the same Yisrael was saying the whole time, that it stays status quo until further notice. So we're in status quo. Before, in pasuk 9, by the Asifa over there, by gathering the ashes. So he said that a woman is kosher and a katan is not. That's the drush we had in pasuk 9. Everybody agrees to those drushes. So they want to say, even though there are a lot of psukim in between, but we never were told to change. So we're still in status quo. So whatever was kosher in pasuk 9 is kosher in pasuk 17. Whatever is possible is possible. So over there we said that a woman is kosher and a katan is possible for the gathering of the ashes. So too in the kiddush of mixing the ashes and the water, also a woman is kosher and a katan is possible.
Who says this?
The Rabbanan. First one on the line, Rabbi Yehuda, about 15 lines up or so. Rabbi Yehuda, he's the opposite. Rabbi Yehuda says that something did change, because before the pasuk was talking in the singular, and pasuk 9, v'asaf, v'hiniach, in singular form, lashon yachid. And pasuk 17, it says v'lakhu, makara. How come it talks about plural? Rabbi Yehuda, imkain lemak shua v'lakach. My v'lakhu. Why did it change to the plural? It came to include more. Over there we said he, and now we say they. They should take. Who's they? Even more people. Even though we said before katan is not good, the minor is not good. Here we're saying that a minor is also good. So a minor may do the kiddush. He may mix the ashes with the water. So how come you say that a woman is not good? Isha manale. How come he says that a woman is excluded? Since the pasuk says in 17, v'nasan, it says in the masculine, which usually we're not impressed. But here, the fact that the pasuk is an extra word, maybe, so he says v'nasan is coming to say that dafka man, not a woman. So that's what it says over here in 17. That in pasuk 17, that according to Rabbanan, who's the one who does the kiddush? A woman may, of course, you don't need a kohen, but a woman may, a minor may not. And according to Rabbi, it's the opposite. The pasuk goes out of its way to change it over here, that a katan may do the kiddush and a woman may not.
Oh, because Vanatan.
V'lakhu is coming to add on a katan, and v'nasan is coming to exclude a woman. So Rabbanan say, now the Rabbanan have to explain themselves. How come they don't darshan v'lakhu v'nasan? Rabbi said, something's wrong over here, that it made an extra word, it changed it. What's all that about? But Rabbanan, no, because Rabbanan v'lakach v'nasan. If it would have continued with the singular, havamena ad shakal chad v'yav chad. I would have thought. Well, Rashi says it means maybe need the same person. Maybe it have to be the same person does both the one who did the asifa also has to, or the balakach has to be all the same person. So I changed it to say that you don't need the same person. That you don't need the same person as you needed by asifa. It could be somebody else, not the same person who gathered. It has to be the same person who does the kiddush. Maybe why doesn't the pasuk continue and say both of them in plural? Pasuk 17. It should have said why say v'nasan? You might think you need two people to do this. You might think that you need after two people to do the kiddush. So, is also good enough. The reason why the pasuk went out of its way to say that don't think that I'm changing to plural, that you have to dafka have two. I just wanted to say that you don't need the same people. It could be somebody else that did the gathering. Somebody else could do the kiddush. But now don't take me so literally that you have to have dafka plural. You can have one person. And if it would have said both of them plural or both of them singular, I would have been mistaken. So therefore I said one of them plural, one of them singular, just to get clear, make it clear any mistakes. But it comes out according to Rabbanan, we're still saying status quo from pasuk 9, and therefore a woman is kosher and a katan is possible. Now we go further. ala oil, bal kol hakelim, anything that became tummy. So who's the one who does that? Who's the sprinkler? Who's the mazeh? Who's the one who sprinkles the water onto the tummy person? In our picture, visual aid, you have these sprinkling stations all over Eretz Israel that people that are tummy, they come, they don't have to go to the base of Mikdash for that. So who's the one who's standing by the window over there and sprinkling? So the people that are tummy, they pass by and they said, I need to be sprinkled on. Who's the one who's the sprinkler? So here's machlokes. V'lakach is over taval b'mayim ish tahor, l'Rabbanan ish v'lo isha, tahor l'achshiv es hakotan. U'Rav Yehuda ish v'lo kotan, tahor l'achshiv es isha. We go with the klal we said the whole time that keep status quo until further notice. Here that it says ish tahor in pasuk 18, so it's changing something. Not so simple. Whatever we're talking about till now is now changed. Whatever you hold, pasuk 17, 18 is the opposite. If you said before, according to Rabbanan, that a woman was doing it, who's the one who did the kiddush? A woman and not a katan. So here the pasuk says the opposite. So it's going to say that a katan and not a woman. So who's the one who's sprinkling? According to Rabbanan, you can't have women that are sprinkling. If those sprinkling say it can't be a woman who's sprinkling. A katan could, but a woman not. According to Rabbi, Yehuda, that's the opposite. Since pasuk 17, we said it's talking about a katan and not a woman. Who's the one who's mekadesh? A katan and not a woman. So pasuk 18 is coming to say the opposite. The fact that the pasuk says ishtahor and it didn't have to, so it's coming to the motzi. It's coming to exclude from what we said till now. It's changing the status quo.
And
So
woman can?
according to Rav Yehuda, yes.
Yeah, but it says ish. What are you gonna do with ish?
Well, ish v'lo katan.
But isha, yes.
Yes, because it
Oh,
says
yeah.
Torah v'gam isha, as the Gemara says over here. This is what that's what the Gemara just said. The Gemara just said this on its own. That since we're in the mode of always status quo until further notice, we got a further notice over here, so we have to switch around. Whatever we said before.
Maybe not
Yeah.
everything. Maybe just the
It says before Ishtahar, and here it says again Ishtahar. It says Ishtahar in pasuk
Ah.
9, and now it says in pasuk 18. So the rest what the Gemara says. Where are we holding? 4 or 5 lines from the bottom. Ish v'lo isha Torah l'achsher sakatan. We're going to dash in pasuk 18 to say ish and not a
that's Rabban.
kata. Ish,
Ish
V'lo
v'lo
isha.
v'lo isha.
right?
That's
and
Rabban.
we'll say Torah l'achsher sakatan. But Rabbi Yehuda, that's what we're talking about till now. Pasuk 17 we said that. This must be the opposite. Rabbi Yehuda ish v'lo katan and Torah l'achsher isha. There was a kasha on this because there's a Mishnah in Mesachas Paraduma, that over there it talks about this halacha who sprinkles, and it just says the shita of the Rabbanan. It just says that katan may and a woman may not, and it doesn't say that Rabbi Yehuda argues. Before we spoke about the kiddush, there was a Mishnah before, middle of the page by the kiddush. We have the machlokis of pasuk 17. There was a machlokis in the Mishnah quoted that who does it according to Rabbanan, a woman and not a katan. According to Rabbi Yehuda, a katan and not a woman. But in this issue of sprinkling, the Mishnah doesn't say Rabbi Yehuda argues. That's the most kasha. On the bottom, 2 lines from the bottom, Meisvei, Hakok Shem Lazos, Chutz Mitum Madrogenes, V'isha. Everybody may sprinkle the water onto the tummy person except for a woman. And whoever's a chashash woman, Tum Madrogenes, the chashash, we don't know if they're a man or a woman. So a woman is puzzled to sprinkle. That's the sheet of the Rabbanan, that a woman may not sprinkle. The katan, here it says, Sheyesh Bodas or Shein Bodas, Isha Mesayatu Umaze. If a katan is doing it and the katan is kosher, even if a woman is helping him along, it's okay. Like we're saying, that it's not a problem if someone's helping him, assisting him, but the katan is doing it. So here it says that a katan is kosher to sprinkle and a woman is not. But it doesn't say Rabbi Yehuda argues. According to what we said, Rabbi Yehuda should have argued. V'lo palag Rabbi Yehuda, that's the kasha. The fact that the Mishnah only brings down Amud Beis, if you turn the page, V'lo palag Rabbi Yehuda, the Mishnah says only one opinion, doesn't say Rabbi Yehuda argues. According to what you're saying, Rabbi Yehuda should have argued. So the Gemara says, I'm Rabbi, figure it out. If you know the system, you know the code over here, that the whole parasha continuously changes back and forth. Status quo until further notice. So you got a further notice, so figure it out on your own. Yeah, Amar Abai, Chivin da Amar Mar, Mashma Mosim Yad Mashma, Mashma Mamela, Akama Pali. Since we know the cloud is that when it changes, so then it changes, and if it doesn't, it stays status quo. So you figure out on your own that he argues. Since you know in pasuk 17, he said, by the din of the kiddush, he said that a katan is kosher and a woman is puzzle. And now said 18 is the extra pasuk. It must be changing something. It must be that whatever was there is the opposite. So point of view to figure out that a woman is kosher and a katan is not.
What's happening in 18? Okay.
18 is talking about who's the spritzer, who's the sprinkler.
Spritzen.
So
Yeah.
whatever, and it says ishtahor.
Oh, so Rabbi Yehuda holds dafka woman can do that.
Can yes, and
Yes.
it will cut not. So if you go to the sprinkling stations, if it's Rabbi Yehuda's shita, the woman will be there maybe, and the cut not.
That's the
According to the Rabbanan, it's going to be dafka. You can have a man, of course, you can have an adult man, but if you don't have an adult man, according to Rabbanan, you can have
A
a
child.
katan, a child, but not a woman. The children will enjoy this.
Right,
They'll
because they
enjoy it.
tahor.
They'll enjoy the. Of course, they have to be Torah, yes, but they can enjoy sprinkling whoever passes by. The sprinkle on them very good. They're allowed to do that. But a woman
surely
is
has
not
to
allowed
be
to do that.
that.
He's a katan is
Oh,
kosher. Katan is kosher.
The Meisveh is on against Rabbi Yehuda, right?
Yeah, it's not a kasha on him. It's a kasha what he holds. That if he's
Akasha, what he holds, because here it says a woman, not a woman.
not kosher, a katan is, and a woman is not, then he doesn't argue. Why does the Mishnah not mention that Yehuda argues? That sounds like Yehuda does not argue. Well, says we can figure out on our own that Yehuda is going to argue. The Mishnah didn't have to say it. One more pasuk that the Gemara is going to do. Pasuk 19, third line. Visa Torah la tamei. This is the actual sprinkling. It says that the Torah person, whoever it is, a woman, a child, whatever you have, so he should sprinkle onto the tamei person on the third and the seventh day, and it becomes Torah. Torah nechlal shu tamei. The fact that it says that he's Torah, that means that he was tamei, and he's in the process of becoming tamei. Didn't have to say it. We would have known already. It's partial that he has to be Torah. But the fact that it says Torah means even though he's a little bit Torah. This is the famous thing that Paraduma was questioned with the full yom, that this was the big machlokes of the Stukim. The Stukim said that you have to even have shemesh, and the halach is not like that. Based on this pasuk, this drash says that even if he's partially Torah, that he just went to the mikveh today, even though he didn't yet have sunset coming upon him, was good enough. Now, even though he's not talking about the doing of the paraduma, the burning, it's talking about the sprinkling, but we learn it from here to the whole paraduma that you don't need to have shemesh, Tul Yom was good enough. And because the Stukim were more machmer, so we had to show that they're wrong, people shouldn't go after them, so we said that the Dafka made it Tul Yom, and because of that, people went too much to the left, so we had to get them back on track. So we made a lot of chumras that people should take it seriously, except for this one thing that will make that Tul Yom is kosher. That's the end of the sugya. Hope everybody enjoyed.
Yeah, it was
And
great.
the Gemara continues.
Just the last sentence. Can you just repeat the last sentence again, Miklal?
Michlal shehu tamei.
Shehu.
Since it's Torah, that means that he's somewhat tamei. He's just in the process of becoming Torah. Limit al tvul yom.
Oh, Li made out Tivol Yom. I'm sorry,
Right,
that's not part of it?
Even if he went to the mikveh today, it's good enough. He's kosher to do the paraduma, even if he just went to the mikveh today. He became tamei today, and it means he's tamei today. In the morning, he got up, he was tamei, and he went to the mikveh today. He didn't have hair shemesh yet. That's good enough. The Gemara says on what is it? The fifth line, Amr Abasi. Let's take this down now. Amar Rabbi Asi ki havu ba Rabbi Yochanan v'Reish Lakish b'Pora lo maskim mina ela kemai demasik tala mibekarva. When Rabbi Yochanan and Reish Lakish were learning the sugya paraduma, they didn't get out of it only as much as a fox gets out of a plowed field. So I don't know, I'm not familiar with fox, and anybody can tell me anything, but here it says that when a fox goes into a plowed field, how much dust is going to come out on his feet? Not too much. So I don't know what, okay, there's the picture over there. So yeah, it goes to a plowed field. I don't know why it's so dafka fox in a plowed field. I don't know, to marshal, it must be some expression that's used 2 times in the Shas. It says on the side here also nida, and when it wants to say like we didn't get anything out of it, like so that's what the Gemara's expression is. I don't know what it means. If anybody can help, I appreciate it.
It says here, the fox's footprints are small since it walks on the ends of its toes. Because it's a very light animal with swift movements, these prints are very faint. Therefore, as a fox walks, it unearths only a small amount of soil.
Okay, very good. So in other words, you don't paraduma, it says there's not too much to know. You just have to know one cloud. Only as much, what does he say?
How much dust from the floor of the basement is? I'm guessing.
On the screen, you also have it, there's the fox in the plowed land.
That's it.
Okay. Okay, and what's the point? That the cloud comes that we always started with today. El Amri, they said, Rebbe Shlokish said, Mashma Motzi Midad Mashma or Mashma Mamela. They go to the Parsha Paraduma, Parsha Chukas, and keep status quo until further notice. Keep read the Parsha, and each Parsha is continuing whatever the Pasuk was talking about before that, unless the Pasuk says something that hints to you that you're supposed to change.
Meaning that they're saying it twice is the classic example. We're
All these
saying the
ca-
same thing twice. We just
You
had
did the
that.
same thing. Well, you changed it till now talking about a zar, now talking about a Kohen, till talking about a Kohen, now we're talking about a zar, till now we're talking about a woman, now we're not talking about a woman. Whatever we're talking about until now, when the pasuk changes it, it's changed. If it didn't change, then you go status quo until further notice. New Gemara. So we finished that sugya. I mean, but now let's take a zoom out, which we learned yesterday already, is a non-Kohen kosher to do the paraduma, which we just said also machlokes Rav and Shmuel again. That was a simple drasha. The simple way we learned the pasuk would mean that he should shechted before him means that somebody he is shechting it before
Why are we
Elazar.
going backwards? He did all the other processes. Why are we now going back? to
Not
the
because
beginning?
that's only usually we finished all the drushes. We came in, it wasn't only because of that pasuk. That was how the sugi came in over here. Shtei shchita shamati, and really we're going back to the shchita of the Kohen Gadol also. But the subject is because of the shchita. That's how we came into the sugi. All this was agav. enjoy the cruise, and now we're back on to our course.
Original
And the
idea.
point is it kosher for a non-Kohen
Mhm.
or not a Lazar to shech the paraduma? And we said Machlokes Rav and Shmuel. Shmuel said the simple reading that v'shachato solofanav, that somebody else shechs it before a Lazar. And Rav said no, a Lazar has to shech in front of himself. He has to be conscious. Says Machlokes. Here, Rabbi Yochanan is going to say an opinion. Tani Tanaka made Rabbi Yochanan kol hashchitos ksheres bezar chutz mishal para. Somebody said over a brisa in front of Rabbi Yochanan that any shechita is kosher bazar, like kol atar kula shechita bazar kshera. You don't need a Kohen to do the shechita except for paraduma. That paraduma is puzzle, and he alone seems to hold like Rav that v'shachato solofanav means that a Lazar still has to shech in front of himself. He has to be conscious, but he's still the shochet. Amalei Rabbi Yochanan puk tani lebra. Rabbi Yochanan told this Tana. Tana means the person who's saying over the brisa, go take out this brisa outside. Go out of the bishmedrash. Like that. Don't say it in the bishmedrash. Because he means to say that's not a good brisa. No such thing. Ain't the that shchita bazar, no such thing. He might agree that maybe the Chatchili is supposed to do the Lazar, but he's not going to say that it's possible because no such thing as shchita bazar psula. Just to point out that he doesn't talk about Kohen Gadol on Yom Kippur, but just the rule that he says lo motzinu sounds like there's no such thing. So we had that by Kohen Gadol. There was also machlokes paro v'lo paro. How about the par Kohen Gadol? If the Kohen Gadol didn't shech it, is it kosher or not? So we had a machlokes also the opposite. That Shmuel said that it's possible. Rav said that it's kosher because shchita lav avoda. So Rabbi Yochanan seems to be on the side that it's not possible. The pasuk says openly the Kohen Gadol is supposed to be the one who shechs his par on Yom Kippur, but with the Eved, well, machlokes if it's kosher, Rabbi Yochanan seems to say that it is kosher.
No, they're not like the one who puzzled it before
Right.
him.
Rabbi Yochanan lo miboya letana de lo tzayis ala afilu Rabbi l'sai. So Rabbi Yochanan, he didn't listen to this Tana who said over this brisa. He didn't even listen to his own Rebbe because his own Rebbe also said that it's possible. He argued on his own Rebbe, and he's allowed to. Tam Rabbi Yochanan mishum Rabbi Shimon ben Yotzadok, that's his Rebbe. Shchita spora bezor psula, that the paraduma that shechted by a non-Kohen is possible. V'ani omer kshera, because lo matzinu shchita psula bezor. Rabbi Yochanan says no such thing. No such thing as a shchita bizarre that's going to be possible. So therefore he says the paraduma, even if he agrees that lachatchila should be by a Kohen maybe, or Lazar, but the David is not possible. The Mishnah continued. Well, we pass on like, by the way, pass on like Rabbi Yochanan, like Rav, that
Kosher b'di'evet.
kosher b'di'evet. And lachatchila it seems like
Lachatchila
pass
should
like
be a
Rav
Kohen.
that it should be a Kohen, and by Par Kohen Gadol, of course lachatchila should be by a Kohen because the pasuk says so that the Kohen Gadol should shecht his par. But b'di'evet, Rabbi Yochanan says that he does not
If
going
a
to be
Zar
possible.
comes and
It
wants
could
to
be
argue his way
it
in
could be
there, and
b'di'evet is kosher.
if a Zar wants to argue his way in there, and
On
this
Yom
is
Kippur
fine.
where?
No, on for this.
For the paraduma?
Yeah,
So we have big Kohanim.
big Kohen.
Volo Eitzel
Where are
Parashniya. The Mishnah continues and says that the Kohen Gadol, after he did the Hagrola on the goats, he comes back to do a second time Vidoy on the bull. So what did he do? Vidoy on the bull, on Neo Vesi,
Par Kohen.
Par Kohen Gadol.
Par
The par,
Kohen.
yeah, and then he goes back to the east to do Hagrola on the two goats, and then he goes back to the west to do a second Vidoy on the par. And the first time, this we know already from the Davening and Yom Kippur, the first time he says, Chatasi Yivisi Pashati Neo Basi, and the second time he says, Chatasi Yivisi Pashati Neo Basi, V'nei Aolam Kedoshecha. And the Mishnah said so. In the pasuk, it doesn't say. The pasuk says, V'chiper Bado V'ad Beiso. It says the same thing twice. The pasuk says the same word, V'chiper Bado V'ad Beiso both times. And we do different. The first time is only Anio Basi. The second time is Anio Basi, V'nei Aolam Kedoshecha. Ma'ishna b'vidi rishon de lo amar b'nei Aolam Kedoshecha, or Ma'ishna b'vidi sheni de amar b'nei Aolam Kedoshecha. After the first time he does not say it, and the second time he does say it. Tana the Rabbi Shmuel, Kachi Amidas Adin, no sense, that's the way it's supposed to be. Mutav Yovo Zakai v'chaper alachai, v'al Yovo Chai v'chaper alachai. It's better that a person who's already cleansed should come to be atoned on those that are guilty, and it shouldn't be that a guilty person should come to atone for those that are guilty. It means the Kohen, it's not proper he should come that he's in the same boat. First, he should cleanse himself. So the first video, he cleanses himself, on Basi. It doesn't talk about the Kohen. The second time he's coming to cleanse the Kohen, then he does video also. But he has to first do video on his own. It seems that the pasuk when it says v'chiper ba'ado v'ad beiso must include the Kohanim also, or else why does he say it at all? Even the second time, what does beiso mean? Only his family? How about the rest of the Kohanim? It sounds like it includes the rest of the Kohanim also.
I
That
thought
the
it
pa-
says Beito is his family. like
So I'm saying the
Hanukkah.
pasuk in the pasuk when it says v'chiper
Yeah.
ba'ado, but it seems to be the Kohanim also, or else he wouldn't do it a second time either. If the pasuk just says he should do it for his own family 2 times, so what does it have to do with the Kohanim? It seems that the Par Kohen Gadol is also machaper on the other Kohanim also, but he doesn't say so. The first time when he says Aniyu Basi, he uses the words of the pasuk. V'chiper ba'ado ba'ad beiso. He says Chatar Zivisa B'Shad. Aniyu Basi. Does it include the Kohanim? Maybe, but he doesn't say it explicitly. But the second time he says it explicitly, the Kohanim also. And the Gemara says the reason why the first time he doesn't is because first he's focusing on his own sins to get atonement before he comes to atone on other people. If that's good,
Why would there be two atonements? Two
That-
different animals for atonements?
it's one animal with two atonements. It's one animal that does vidu twice in the same animal.
No, it's on the same.
That's in the, it says in the version of the pasuk. V'chiper ba'ado ba'ad beiso, v'chiper ba'ado ba'ad beiso, v'shachat esapa. So it says openly that he does 2 times vidu on the same bull. So that's again, let's get the picture. He's in the white clothing. He goes to the west, in Olam Olam Mizbeach over there, or close by, and he does vidu on the bull. He goes to the east and throws the lots on the 2 goats. And he ties the red string on the one which was chosen to be the Sar Mishtalech. He comes back to the west of the Mizbeach over there, and he does vidu on the par, and then does vidu on the bull a second time. Here he says B'nei Onam Kedoshecha, and then he's going to shechta. That's the next Mishnah now.
In terms of the Gemara, we would take it for the snifa shchita.
So he's going to do it again, but the second time he's going to do that.
But the first video is making snifa.
Okay, but here the pasuk says so openly. The pasuk says what to do. He says "V'chiper ba'ado ba'ad beiso." Yeah. But this is going to be the second. The second time he does do it right away. The second time, but in between, there's the 2 viduyim, so then there's something to do in between, and the pasuk says openly. So is it an exception to the rule? Maybe, maybe not, because he's going to do the viduy a second time again. He'll do a viduy a second time. We have a couple of minutes. The question is if we should stop here or continue.
Continue, Rebbe, that's good.
Continue. Everybody's happy with continuing. The Mishnah says shchato. He shechted the par, so he slaughtered the par, his bull, the kibo b'mizrikas domo, and he received the blood. But what's going to do with this blood? This blood is going to go into the Kodesh HaKadoshim. But he's not ready to go into the Kodesh HaKadoshim yet because the pasuk says there's something to do first. He has to first bring in the Ketores. So what the pasuk says to do it in this order. He should slaughter the bull, and then he should bring the Ketores into the Kodesh HaKadoshim, and then sprinkle the blood. So the Mishnah says, what does he do in order that the blood should not congeal? He has to leave the blood over there. If he's going to go do and all that is going to congeal. So there's going to be somebody over there who's going to be mixing it in order to make it that it shouldn't congeal. Because he has what to do meanwhile. He has to do the Ketores. And the Mishnah is going to say how you do the Ketores. Shachto, he shechted the bull. The kibo b'mizrikas domo, he received the blood in the bowl. The nosna l'misha mamaris bo al rova the revisha beichel. And he gives it to somebody who's going to be mixing it, stirring it, on the 4th row of stones in the Heichal. The simple words in the Mishnah would have been mashma that he's inside the Heichal, he's inside the sanctuary, but that's not so, he's outside. He's the 4th row of stones outside the Heichal, but the Mishnah wouldn't have known that yet. Kadesh lo yikor, should know that it shouldn't congeal. And now he has to go to do the Ketores. How do you do the Ketores? He has to have coals that he takes into the Kodesh HaKadoshim with a fire pan, and he also takes Ketores, and he's going to, inside the Kodesh HaKadoshim, he's going to put the Ketores onto the coals, and that's going to make the incense. So here it says, he takes the Kohen Gadol takes a fire pan, some kind of a shovel, and he goes to the top of the Mizbeach, outside, the Mizbeach outside, and over there there's a fire from where he takes the coals to bring into the Kodesh HaKadoshim for the Ketores. The Mishnah is going to say soon that this is a special fire. We had before Maracha Gedola, Maracha Shniya, Ketores. This is a special one for Yom Kippur. The Ketores of Yom Kippur is not the regular Ketores, so he has a special fire over there from where they burnt the wood in order to make coals, and he's taking those coals
That's
in
going to
order.
go into the Kodesh HaKadoshim. That's the Ikavodesh of the day, it seems, in a certain way. He's davening. It's the first time only time he's davening.
He doesn't daven over there either.
Doesn't daven?
No,
It says in Nusach.
no. He brings in the
Rabbi
Ketores.
Shmuel, Kohen Gadol, said, Beni. Yeah.
No,
Rabbi Shmuel Beni.
I think that was on his way out. That story.
I don't think it was on Yom Kippur either. Maybe I'm not sure if it was Yom Kippur, but if it was, then it wasn't. It would have been. In the
No, he was inside the Kodesh Kedoshim. It had to be Yom Kippur.
Okay, you have to look at it again. But that tefillah, he says that when after he finishes everything and he's outside in the Heichal. I don't know. We'll look at it again. Natal Machta v'Allah l'Rosh HaMizbeach. The Kohen Gadol took a shovel and he went to the fire pan. He went to the top of the Mizbeach. He moves away the coals to both sides in order to get from the center of the fire. He takes from those that are burnt out well, good coals. The Yarad, he went down from the Mizbeach. And he put it on the 4th row of stones in the courtyard, which, according to what I said, it sounds the same place as before, the one who's Mamaris. Before, the words of the Mishnah are different. Before it says Rov Revisha Beichel, and here it says Rov Revisha Bazora, which might be different places, but I think the Gemara is going to say that it's all the same. because the one who's stirring the blood is also not inside the heichal; he's outside the courtyard. The Mishnah now takes a long interruption to talk about the differences between the Yom Kippur and a regular day of Ketores. Every day when he would do, also every day he had to take Ketores. He had to take coals from the Mizbeach, and they would take it into the Mizbeach inside, not to the Kodesh HaKadoshim, but they take it into the inner Mizbeach. So every day he would use a shovel of silver and then pour it into a shovel of gold. He wouldn't use the golden one to do the actual shoveling. He would shovel the coals from the fire with a silver machta and then put it into a golden one. He used the same one. He didn't change. The Gemara is going to say in order to make it easier for him, I think that they didn't make so much work, so he could use the golden one, the same one that he's going to take in. He used it as a shovel also.
What's a Mara?
Mara means to pour. Maybe a better word than pouring. It's talking about coals, but he would empty out the coals from the silver one into the golden one. But on Yom Kippur, you only use the golden one. So every day he took more coals than he needed, and when he poured it into the second kli, so some of it fell off. So Tanakama says that every day he would take 4 kav of coals. A kav is the volume of 24 eggs, and he took 4 times that, and then he would pour it into kli, which only holds 3 kav, so 1 kav would fall off to the side. Today he didn't do that. He just took as much as he needed. He shoveled up 3 kav, and that's what he brought in. Reb Yossi says that not every day only 1 more kav, but every day he did 6. So is 6 kav. So every day, Reb Yossi says he didn't do 4 kav and then shovel it into 3 and pour it into 3. He took 6 kav and poured it into 3, and then 3 kav fell off to the side. Every day the machta was heavy, whatever the amount of silver or gold that it was heavy, but on Yom Kippur they used a lighter one. Every day the handle was a short handle and he held it by the hand, but on Yom Kippur they had a longer handle in order that the Gemara is going to say he should be able to support it with his arm. He should have more support, that it shouldn't be so heavy for him to carry it. Rabbi Menachem says another difference, that every day it was more of a, call it a yellowish gold, and today it was more of a red gold. Different color
more
gold.
expensive, I think.
Maybe, I don't know. This is very in the pasuk that every day he did the regular Ketores, and that was a half of it on the morning, half of it in the afternoon, and that was not in the Kodesh HaKadoshim, that was on the Mizbeach Hazav. But today on Kippur, besides that, he also had the Loch Hafnav. The Loch Hafnav means cupped hands that he took into the Kodesh HaKadoshim.
He said every day in Ketores, so the extra 3, yeah.
Every day the Torah has to be finely ground, but on Kippur even more finely ground. Okay, we'll stop here. The rest of it is not about the Torah, so we'll continue here tomorrow again. Thank you, everybody. Hope everybody enjoyed. We're up to B'chol Yom Kohanim Olim B'Mizracho. That's what we're up to over there. Yes, go ahead, everybody. Thank you.
Great job.
Thank you.
Thank you. We'll be back in a minute for.
Gotta wash your hands when you get out.
Yes, you can.
This is a bird flying